Welcome back to another edition of Post Media's Ottawa Senators panel. Special guest this week. We got Nick St. Pierre from Unique FM 94,5. Bonjour,
right.
Nick.
Pretty good.
Bonjour.
Yeah, pretty good French there.
And Wayne Scanlon, longtime Citizen Readers. No Wayne, now doing some work for Sportsnet.ca. Guys, we had a lot to talk about. First weekend of training camp. I guess we should start with DJ Smith, new coach, new ideas, new approach. Your initial reactions to what he's brought to this team through the first weekend. Nick?
Sure.
Oh, Wayne?
First.
Well, it's interesting. The coaches seem to have the players that they're more fond of, and I think he maybe has some preconceived notions before camp even starts. Connor Brown seems to be elevated on a top line. It'd be interesting to see if he can maintain that position. The ex-Leafs, you got Zaitsev and Tyler Ennis, Connor Brown. Who else is?
And Ron Hainsey.
And Ron Hainsey, of course. They seem to have prominent positions so far in camp, but it's early. I expect things will change.
I think, the coming of Hainsey, particularly for me, is going to be the link between his locker room and the coach, and he needed to bring some people that he could trust in that locker room right off the bat. That being said, first impression I have from DJ Smith, pretty good one. I think he sent the message that party is over. Right off the bat, the camp was really hard, and people were saying that it was skate. So I like the message he's sending.
You know what I think is interesting, and maybe there's something in here in the future, the difference between coaching and managing. And if you have superstars, are you managing your superstars? If you don't have as many superstars, do you have more of an opportunity to coach kids? And of course, this is where you're going, right? You talk about Brandstrom, you talk about Batherson, Logan Brown, if he makes it. All these young guys, Colin White even to some extent. All these young guys, you got to bring them along. And maybe if you don't have the superstars out there, the coach can have more of an impact. And with the help of guys like Hainsey to come in and maybe put that stamp on it. But I think
no more country club in that.
Well,
line.
let's see. Let's see. I mean, it is going to be a battle to get through. We hear the culture thing all the time. Well, let's see what happens here. Now, the breaking news or whatever from training camp, day one starts, of course, with you can't get through day one without an injury. Christian Wolanin goes down with a shoulder injury. He's out for 4 months. How is this going to impact on what happens on defense, Wayne?
Well, I think Eric Brandstrom is going to have a real opportunity. I think we probably expected he might start the year, maybe get a game or two in here, but probably go back down to Belleville. But him and Lajoie, I think, are going to get. Lajoie's had opportunities in the past, and I think he's another one that will be looked at. But it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out.
From what I saw from Lajoie, exactly I like his grit. More physical, a little bit more arduous, and more arduous. And that being said, I think the injury to Wolanin, the one who's going to is going to be more profitable too. It's going to be Brandstrom because I think the window is open. We saw him with Hainsey, and I think the message is kid, show us what you got, and we'll see how.
But in early going, I'm not sure I've seen enough from Brandstrom. I watched him and I go, he seems to be battling in the corners, but he's not a big guy, maybe pushed off a little bit. And if the mandate here is defense first, and maybe Brandstrom's a little bit different because let's face it, he's a star player, the offensive potential. Maybe there's a bridge here, and Lajoie gets a shot off the hop, so that Brandstrom can go and play the bigger minutes in Belleville. I like Lajoie's game, and was dealing with an injury last year that maybe hampered him. He had the great start, slowed down. I'm not sure this is a given that Brandstrom's going to start the year here.
His confidence was shaken last year, Lajoie. Yeah. When he went back to Belleville, you could tell that he was shaken, and I like the fact that he's sending. Well, what I perceive from him is actually he gained back that confidence, and that's very good. Brandstrom, you're saying it defensively, it's not the best. Troyman was telling us at the last game of the tournament before the game that he needed him to be more poised with his shots, take less of a slap shot and try to go through it, and take more of a wrist shot.
Right? Yeah.
So there you go. I think he's trying to manage a lot in his head right now, so that maybe will slow down his progression, but we'll see what happens.
That was a good question, by the way, when you asked that on the forum there. No, and Brandstrom admitted it. Brandstrom acknowledged. He said, "No, I got a lot. There's a lot going on in my head here."
Yeah,
so
totally.
I think Ken, in a perfect world, he goes down and gets an opportunity to just do everything down there. I mean, the AHL is a tough league. And working on your defensive game, moving people out in front, boxing players out, that's the training ground, really. And to be doing that at the NHL level, my concern for him is he gets exposed a little bit, he loses his confidence. I think in a perfect world, he goes back down.
Yeah, and then opens the Lejoie. Speaking of guys that might be on the bubble there, up or down, Alex Formenton to me is a really interesting guy. We saw him through that speed is just such a dynamic that adds to the game, and it's like I'm not comparing him to Connor McDavid. Don't say that, but it's like people see, they think they've got him, and then he just hits another gear and goes by.
Saw it yesterday.
He saw it yesterday, and you go, can you afford on a team to develop? Can you add that on this team immediately, or do you go down? He hasn't played HL, so do you give him bigger minutes down there before you expose him here? I like that. Abramov we've seen has been really impressive in the early going, and then there's Logan Brown's the other guy that maybe has to knock somebody from their perch, I think, to make this team. Thoughts on all those guys?
You know what? Like I will qualify those guys as bubble and a bubble line. Abramov, Norris at the center, and Formenton. That line to me is pretty exciting. It's going to be a super good in Belleville, or it could be a future first line NHL. But right now, what do you do with those guys? Do you keep them together? Do you send them in Belleville? It's going to be your big line, or you try them here? Because like Abramov, like DJ Smith keeps saying, he's the one right now. He's the guy who's doing the best. So let's see what happens.
Good exhibition games, and that's what it should be about, right? Other teams, maybe they have spots for like one guy in the Leafs or whatever they're going to do. This team, I think, legitimately, you have 2 or 3 guys that could push and maybe steal a job.
My question is, Ken, which of these young guys is going to provide the scoring? When you think of the goals that they've lost with Stone, Duchesne, and even Ryan Dzingel was a proven scorer.
Yeah.
Where are the goals going to come from? Is Connor Brown stepping in on the top line with White and Kachuk? Is that going to get it
Well,
done?
when I look at these line combinations, Nick's got them perfectly spelled out here. But the line combinations, you're trying to create some balance. I got that. You have to try to whatever you do have, but there's no first line here. I mean, maybe it's Kachuk and White. You know, if Brady
default,
Kachuk
probably.
by default, right? And you talk about Connor Brown playing there, and then you got Batherson with Pajot.
Don't forget, Duclair and Batterson could do something nice.
Okay, but these are are these on a legitimate? These are third line somewhere
That's
around
what
the
we got.
NHL. But now you got 2 or 3 third lines. Anyway, where are you going to manufacture the offense? Like you say, Wayne, it's gonna be intriguing. Batherson's got a shot at it. That leads us to Batherson. We're going to talk about his size. He didn't put on 2,016 pounds. He put on 16 pounds. It seems like it sometimes. He put on 16 pounds in the summer. He keeps growing. He's a big body now. And also, Brady Kachuk has become back, and he's not a boy anymore.
What I like about Brady Kachuk is he told us he gained 22 pounds. I asked him, where did you put them? And I can't tell where he put those 22 pounds. Right. It tells me that he put them in the right place. He told us that he feels like faster, stronger. That kid's going to be nice to see, great to see this year.
How things have changed. Do you remember it used to be upper body? Curtis Lazar put on all that weight. It looked like he was just bench pressing all summer, and now it's kind of in the trunk.
Well, it's you know what, guys, it's going to be really intriguing. 2 back-to-back exhibition games right off the hop with St. John's, or with Toronto in St. John's, and then back in Ottawa. These exhibition games are really going to matter, and then they go to Vancouver for a couple after a game in Montreal. So I think we're really going to get some answers as the games start to come along. But intriguing as training camps are. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks very much, Nick, for coming in, and Wayne, appreciate the time. Stay tuned for next week for the next edition of Post Media's Ottawa Senators panel.